الدنيا زي السكر.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for joining us today. Good evening. Inshallah, this episode will be beneficial and educational to my Muslim viewers and non-Muslim viewers alike. I have a special guest today. He's from France originally, indigenous Frenchman. Thank you very much for joining us today, Florence.
Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure, and inshallah we can really discuss the topic at hand, which I'll be introducing very soon, and inshallah benefit. Just before we do start, I'd like to thank my main sponsor, Ahyaan Estates. They do guaranteed rents. They specialize in properties across London. Check them out. Also, my second sponsor, Catering. If you want to get married, parties, mendis, check them out, please. Now, for today's episode is one that's very close to my heart. Firstly, I think you're a very, very lucky man to come into the fold of Islam, alhamdulillah, and congratulations. Even though you've been in Islam for a very long time, so you're not new anymore, you're part of the Ummah. Today we're going to discuss the sort of difficulties and troubles that reverts, or more specifically, people that aren't Muslim, born Muslim, that come into religion, the difficulties that they face, and how we as a Muslim community can facilitate and be much, much more welcoming. So without further ado, tell me your story. How did Islam find you? How did Allah find you? Or you find Allah, rather.
Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Bismillah. So my name is Florent. A lot of people call me Flo. Very few people call me Abdullah or Mohammed, but mainly people call me Flo or Florent. So I've been in the UK for 20 years. And before that, I was born and bred in France for 20 years. So that should give you my age. You just do the maths. So yeah, born in France, raised there. And then I moved in 2002 to study in Coventry. And then I just, for some reason, I liked it here. So I stayed, and here I am. I've been Muslim for 7 years now. And that's it. Maybe you want to know more about me, more about the story.
I think for my viewers and me in particular, I'd like to know what brought you to Islam? What was it about Islam that attracted you?
So I think, everyone's got a different journey. But for me, the journey started like a long time ago, and then it got like quite intense in the later years. So when I was younger, obviously in France, there's a lot of like Algerian and Moroccan like people that emigrated there. So I had like some Muslim friends when I was younger, when I was in France. Back then, like a lot of people went very practicing, or like they didn't care so much about Islam. Like today, people are much more like into Islam. But basically, I had like some Muslim friends, and I had like some knowledge about the Deen. Like I had a good opinion of Islam, or at least it was neutral. It's not like nowadays where people like hate it, and it was like before like the Twin Towers and all of that. So like back then, I think people they had more like of a neutral position towards it. And then when I studied like at university, I got closer with like Muslim friends, and that's when I got to learn a bit more about the religion. And then when I moved to study in Coventry, I lived with some Muslim French people for a while, and those guys were like amazing people. They were like very generous, very nice. Like they would be practicing, they would pray on time, they'd go to the mosque. Like those guys were amazing. Actually, I've lost touch with them, but inshallah one day I can speak to them, because they had like a very like big influence of me.
Well, inshallah, if they do somehow watch this episode, that may be the impetus for them to get back in touch. And I'd like to thank those brothers for facilitating through, by Allah giving them tawfiq for you to come into Islam. And what the beauty of Islam is for those that are perhaps non-Muslim, all of the deeds that you do as a Muslim they get a share of it without you
course.
losing anything.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the beauty of the religion,
Yeah,
subhanAllah. So,
alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah, and I thank them, and we're sitting here now. So, if I can summarize what you've just said, you liked the mannerisms of Muslims, you liked their welcoming nature, and you were neutral. I just want to delve away from our story quickly and look into the camera. You touched on 9/11 and various other incidents that are happening on an ongoing basis. Now, I want to define the word phobia because all of us use it a lot of the time, and it's specifically Islamophobia. So, phobia means the illogical fear of something. So, illogical fear, hence Islamophobia. So, people that have perhaps no knowledge or limited knowledge, or their perception is skewed by other media outlets or agencies, which then lead them to go and believe that Islam is dangerous or harmful. That's where the term arises from, Islamophobia. You have an illogical fear of Islam. And this brother will be a testament to how hospitable we are, how welcoming we are, and more importantly, we're God-fearing people. We're humans, though. I think, there's Muslims out there that do bad things, and quickly ignorant people will label the religion as bad. But you have to realize that first, we're human beings. It would be an honor for me to be a representative of Islam, but really, am I competent enough? That's a big, big task that we all face as individuals. So do not blame the religion, blame the individual. Sorry about that, I sort of diverted, but I think that was a very important message to make.
To go towards your point,
Yep.
Habib says,
Yes.
people don't read the Quran,
Yes.
they read you.
Yes.
So for us, as Muslims, our behavior needs to be on point all the time.
All the time.
And that's like that could be our mean of dawah, and that's what they did to me. Like, we had some discussions about the Deen religion, about like the Christian religion and everything, but back then I didn't care so much, so it went above my head. Like, but their behavior was like really good.
Well, I thank those brothers, and may Allah reward them. I mean, at what age or nearer the time where you thought Islam, you're going to take the leap of faith and you're going to come into Islam? At what age was that, and what was the pivotal turning point?
So basically, I had like a type of interest in Islam since like my early 20s, I would say. Also, one of my friends took his shahada when we were at university, and he was a good friend of mine. And like, we never lost touch. And at some point, basically, like, he was like quite deep in the deen. Like, he traveled to Arabic countries, and basically one day he sent me a video of Hamza Yusuf, who's like an American scholar.
Yeah.
He's got loads of videos on YouTube, and that basically got me hooked. And that's like when I really got like deep into it. So I would say in my 20s, I had like some interest in it. Like, I stopped drinking alcohol in my 20s. I stopped drinking pork after living with those like Muslim.
Eating pork, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
After I lived with those Muslim students, my housemates. But then obviously, like, there was still like some haram in my life. But yeah, that's like, I was making baby steps towards Islam. And then, yeah, after my friend like sent me that video of Hamza Yusuf, like, that's when I started like researching the religion more, and just getting more into it. That's when I started reading the Quran. So I would be in my late 20s when that happened.
MashaAllah. Just a quick side comment, and I'm fast forwarding here. How much of the Quran do you know off by heart?
I'd rather not say,
Fair enough.
but I try to memorize. Alhamdulillah, I can read. I mean, I've been Muslim for 7 years, so I think like I should be able to read. But I can read. My tajweed, I hope, is okay, and I try to memorize a bit every day. Basically, I want to keep on learning, but my memory is very bad, and what I memorize, I keep on losing. So I have to go back into it. But inshallah, the goal is to be a hafiz, is to learn
Inshallah,
it
pray
all.
that
But
you are. You put people like me to shame, because having been born Muslim, we sometimes take it for granted. And as I've gotten older myself, I realize the beauty and the honor of the religion. And, I mean, I'm far from memorizing the Quran, but I think all Muslims, regardless of your race or country, it should be an aspiration to memorize the Quran. Now,
just one thing, we have to make an effort.
Yes.
And we're going to talk about the dawah,
Yes.
but also within the deen, obviously praying on time,
Yes.
but reading Quran
Yes.
every day, even just a little, memorizing just a little.
Yep.
We all have to make an effort, basically.
Inshallah. So you're in your 30s now. You've taken baby steps. Hamza Yusuf made a groundbreaking moment in your life, or had a groundbreaking moment in your life. So you're in your 30s now. I'm very interested to know what the turning point was, because like with anything in life, and this is changing your creed. And to me, in order to change your creed, there's a lot at stake. What's your family going to think? If you had a girlfriend prior to that, what is she going to think? If you had non-Muslim friends, what are they going to think? Essentially, your life is turning upside down. Please tell me a bit about that.
So as to your first question, there wasn't like a specific turning point,
Yeah.
but I got so much into it and I realized that Islam was the truth and that I've got to become Muslim. And as you know, I cycle a lot. You always see me on
Yes,
my bike.
I always see cycling, yes.
And when you cycle, obviously it's quite dangerous. And like even to this day, maybe like every like 2 or 3 months, like I almost get into an accident, like taxi driver cutting you off, like a pedestrian coming out of nowhere. I try to keep it safe, but it's never like 100% safe. And then like a few of those instances happen, and I kept on thinking, if I die without becoming Muslim and I'm so close to it, I'm gonna regret it. Like I knew it was the truth, and I was like, I've got to do this. I've got to like take my shahada. The other thing is that I'd been thinking of becoming Muslim like fairly seriously, and like during the last 2 Ramadans before I became Muslim, I kept on having lunch, and during Ramadan, I was eating and like watching like Muslim like content on YouTube,
Okay.
like people talking about Ramadan and like the benefits of fasting and like the spiritual like high you get. And I would be eating and I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing that? And then like I think it was 2007, a few days before Ramadan, I was like, I don't want this to happen again. This year I'm doing Ramadan. So I just went to my local mosque and I was like, excuse me, sir, I'd like to become Muslim. They were like, oh, mashallah, mashallah, and I took my shahada.
Beautiful. So there was this inherent fear or regret that you're not going to spend any other Ramadan up until that point without fasting. And that push, and Allah gives tawfiq. And what tawfiq means is He facilitates for us. With anything in life, without Him allowing us to do it, we won't be able to do it. SubhanAllah. Wow. So there is this inherent, I think the Arabic term is fitra,
Yes.
which means the innate disposition that a soul, when it comes to Islam from a Muslim's perspective, the soul is emancipated if it hasn't accepted Islam prior to that. Because we believe as Muslims that we're all born Muslims. Regardless of who you are, you're born Muslim. And then naturally from the day you're born, say you were born into a non-Muslim family, your soul will deviate depending on the condition or your circumstances. So when you took the shahada, just quite fascinating to me, how did you feel? Was it euphoric?
I was scared more than anything.
Right.
I don't want to go into too many details, but
Sure.
there was lots of haram aspects in my life.
Right.
And I was like, I knew it was wrong, but like, for me, taking the shahada was like the most important thing. It was like, at least I'm Muslim, and if I die, inshallah, I can get
Inshallah.
rahmah, I can get like forgiveness,
Inshallah.
and that's it. But then I knew that things would have to change at some point anyway. So at that stage, I just took my shahada and I was like, let's see what happens. And obviously, Allah opens doors and He rectifies the affairs, So it got good. But when I took my shahada, I was just like scared and I was just like, now there's no going back. Like, that's it now. 5 times a day praying. Obviously, Ramadan's coming up. Like, I was just like, this is it. Inshallah, this is for life.
And
But-
here you are.
Still, alhamdulillah.
The moment you took your shahada, were your parents informed?
No. So I took my shahada in May. just before Ramadan, and then I went to France in August, and that's when I told them, because obviously like they would have to know because I've got to go to the bathroom, and if they clock me like in my
Evolution.
feet, my feet in the sink, they'll be like, oh, what are you doing? And also like waking up at like 3 in the morning to pray Fajr, you know. So I told them. Uh, it was quite emotional. My mom was so my parents are separated, and
Okay.
I've got a sister as well. So my mom was okay with it. My dad wasn't so okay with it, and my sister like she didn't mind. My sister is quite open-minded.
So it wasn't as difficult as perhaps other reverts that come into the religion.
No. Well, because I was in my 30s then. I was independent. Like I don't live with them. I don't ask for money. You know, like it was like fairly easy. I told them, and they didn't have a choice. They couldn't say like, oh no, you can't be Muslim. I'd be like, there's nothing you can do. I'm afraid.
That's true. You're
You
an
know,
adult.
if you're 17 and you live with your parents, and like if they go like, oh, if you become Muslim, like we're gonna kick you out. Like this is a sticky situation. But in my case, Alhamdulillah, it was good.
Alhamdulillah. Did they start distancing themselves from you?
Not really, but at first, like there was a weird relationship happening. Like everyone was tiptoeing around. Like even to this day, like in my family, there's a lot of taboo, like about me being Muslim. Like for example, I don't really talk like about anything Islamic with my family. Maybe a little with my sister, but very rarely with my dad and my mom, and like never with my cousins, my aunties, my uncles. Like I think they all know I'm Muslim. They must know because my wife is like, she wears hijab and like she's met some of them, but they never talk to me about that. So it's like, it's a bit of a taboo.
And how has that affected you mentally?
Uh, for me, it was fine because I was a bit older and I was independent. Obviously, like it wasn't the best, but also like I did try to be a good boy and like to go back and visit them and like just to be good when I'm around them and everything. And like also they've seen like the first 2 years it was quite weird because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to change. Like they didn't know either. But like after like a few years, like everyone knows that I mean if I've changed, inshallah it's for the better and like they're more like open to it.
One of the things that I sort of find quite hard to grapple with, I was blessed to be born into a Muslim household. Alhamdulillah, and my parents are Muslim. But one thing that is very notable for those brothers and sisters that do come into Islam from non-Muslim backgrounds, Allah in the Quran and Islam advocates that you should be nice to your parents regardless, unless they tell you to do haram. Aside from that, they take precedence.
Yes.
Show mercy to them, they're your parents. And one of the things that when I have spoken to Rivas, what they've told me is one of their biggest fears, and it's a heartache for them, and I can't sympathize because I'm born Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I can empathize that, and perhaps you can shed more light on this, that your parents are not Muslim, right? And I'm sure you pray every day that your parents, inshallah, one day see our truth. How do you manage that? Because that would eat me up at night. I'd have sleepless nights.
What can you do? Allah guides.
Yes.
All we do is we spread the message and we try to have like the best behavior, but then it's not in our hands. Like even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam couldn't convert everyone in his family,
His uncle.
you know. So if he can't do it, who are we?
Who are
So
you? It's true.
you know, we do our best, and then it's not in our hands. But I make dua obviously, and I do my best to like I find it really hard to like talk about Islam with like my close family members. I get really nervous and it turns into a debate and it turns quite negative and I don't really like it. So I try I try to have like to be on my best behavior when I'm around them.
Well, if your parents are watching this, I can attest to him being a fine gentleman and a fine man, just in general. What would your message be to reverts that share this pain? What would your message be to them? Because when you revert to Islam from a non-Muslim background, everyone's dream is to see their parents in paradise. in our belief. What would your message be to those reverts that perhaps may be in despair?
Don't be in despair.
Don't be in despair.
Despair is from shaitan.
Yes,
So,
right.
don't despair. And what is written is written. You just do your best, and that's it. And you make dua, and that's it. There's nothing else you can do.
Beautiful story. Now we're going to go on to talk about the Muslim community prior to you being Muslim, or you being a newborn Muslim, so to speak. So you took your shahada in London.
Yes.
Yes. And what was the reaction from the Muslim community? And please, if you can, be brutally honest, because at least my Muslim audience need to self-reflect and feel like, what can we do more to facilitate? Because we are from a religion, a great noble religion that is open to everyone. But what was your experience after you reverted?
Well, I think a lot of converts have the same experience, especially men. You go to the mosque, you take your shahada, mashallah, everyone's so happy.
Hugging.
You get 50 hugs. People make dua for you, you make dua for them. And then after that, it kind of dies down. Alhamdulillah, for me, so when I took my shahada, Alhamdulillah, there was a few converts there, and one local lad that was there that kind of took me under his wing for some time, and he kept on checking up on me. But it is pretty dry, and this is something that converts have to be prepared for. If you take your shahada, you have to make sure that you stay strong, basically, because there's not that much support from the community. I think also then I didn't know so much about convert and revert groups. I think there's more now, but you have to be prepared that when you take your shahada, it can be a lonely journey. But I want to say something else.
Yeah,
You
sure.
don't do it for other people. You want to save yourself and you want to please Allah.
Yes.
We have to worship Allah.
Yes.
So this is your duty. So do it regardless, and then inshallah it just happens.
Firstly, I want to thank you very much for being so candid and honest. I want to apologize on behalf of the Muslim community to the reverts out there for you to have such a lonely experience after you turned Muslim. So forgive us, and we will do better as a community and as a religion, because I think it's an injustice to ourselves first, because as this brother so eloquently put it, we do good deeds for the sake of Allah. And everything in between that is intermediaries that Allah puts in front of us to see what we will do. So the fact that, Brother Florent, you touched on that after the Shahada, you were somewhat fortunate, but others have experienced extreme loneliness. I just want to paint the picture here. So this person, you're quite fortunate. So this brother or sister has taken their Shahada, usually against their grain, against their family's wishes, against their friends' wishes. Let's start with the friends, for instance. So if someone that's ordinarily, an English person that is either an atheist or a Christian, the culture in this country is you occasionally go to the pub to drink, you go to bars and clubs, and your friend circle is dictated around that. The moment you take your shahada and you come to Islam, even though they may be your very good friends, you start to have less in common with them, because it's haram to drink, it's haram to be in an environment that does sell alcohol, and you naturally would not incline to that. So you've lost friends from that circle, but nothing has replaced it. So that's your friends. Then you've got your family. If they're not Muslim, ordinarily they may say, oh, how dare you, and they may have an ignorant view of Islam, and they may ostracize that particular person. But us as the Muslim community, and you're part of the Muslim community, you're old now, mate. You're not new anymore, mashallah. Us as the Muslim community have to do better. We have to do better, because if they're losing loved ones, which is much more dearer than having friends. But if they're losing their loved ones and they're losing their friends and the world that they're from, and we're not embracing them into our world and being hospitable and welcoming and offering our friendship, etc., surely we do them injustice.
Yes, we have to do better. I don't know what else to say. I think it goes both ways. So we have to do better as a community, and I include myself.
Yep.
But also it's for the reverts to also try to get involved. like try to like take classes, like go volunteering, like try to get more involved with like the Muslim community as a whole. And that's how you make friends. That's how like you find your spouse, you know, like that. At first, I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard. Like it's like moving to like a different country. Someone drops you off in Thailand, you don't speak the language. Obviously, it's gonna be hard for you at first, but after a while, like you have to get involved and you'll make new friends and you'll get there. But it's also for us to be more welcoming.
Yeah,
that is true.
I'm more focused on us.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on us. I think the reverts have taken a big leap, and they're honourable guests. They're more special than us in status. Allah's honoured them.
Yeah.
So we have to give them that honour. And the last thing we want as Muslims is, because of our neglect, that they reconsider Islam. That's a big loss, because we can become sinful. Do we not? Tell me.
Yes.
You're
No,
more
this is
knowledgeable
true.
than me.
No, this
Tell
is
me.
true. But also, I think like for the Muslim community, it's just about being nice, basically. Like you see someone at the mosque, at least say salam, like have a chit chat, because that makes like people feel better. You know, if they're really lonely or whatever, and like they might feel part of the community. Because sometimes like you go to the mosque and no one like talks to you, like people don't reply to your salam, like some people are a bit rude, you know, like the old uncle here and there. Like I think it's just like salam, how are you, like what's going on, how's work, nice weather, you know, and just doing that, and then you get the ball rolling like that.
I don't want to make excuses, but perhaps the older uncles, they may have a language barrier, or maybe
That's
they're
true, that's
ignorant
true,
as
that's
well. But I do think with the religion, particularly in England, diverse and rich. We have Muslims from all over the world in England, from different races, and alhamdulillah, I'm grateful for that and I appreciate it. Some of our masjids, whether it's a Bengali masjid or a Pakistani masjid, usually I've experienced it myself. I've seen that they operate like they're from those countries, so they speak in that language. And I find it quite annoying that someone like yourself that speaks French and very well English, if someone is speaking in Bengali, you wouldn't understand it. Do you want to talk about that and your frustrations?
It is an issue. So I'm not going to focus on the Bengali community, but I've seen it in a lot of mosques and like from different communities where like if there's an announcement, like it should be in both language, even if like if it's one sentence in English, just so that people understand. And it's not only for me, it's also because like there are other people from other communities like that are like attending the mosque, and they also want to feel part of the community. So I think it's important for everyone to like feel like they're part, you know, of the community.
I think absolutely we should either speak in English because everyone speaks English, and even for instance, I'm Bengali, right? And the kids growing up now, they can't speak Siliti. We speak Siliti, right? They can't speak Siliti, or even the Pakistani kids growing up. I could say that most of them can't speak Urdu.
I mean,
they speak English.
It's fine for them to speak both languages, but they have to do both. They have to do one local language and then one in English.
So the local language, I
makes it
think,
better.
serves the sort of elderly in the community
Yes.
that can't speak English,
Yeah.
and there is a need for that.
Yeah,
There is
yeah, no,
service for
this is
that.
true.
But also, we don't want to drive people away from the masjid, because
Yes.
that's as would be for English people, where they sort of congregate in the pub. We congregate in the masjid, and that's our community.
I think it doesn't drive them away because you go to the mosque to pray.
Yes.
Like really nothing else really matters. You go to like fulfill your duty, but you want to like be part of the community. You want to feel good like at the
Absolutely.
mosque.
Masjid is more than just prayer, though, isn't it? It's a community. It should be where you come for help. And also, if you've, not in your case, but another case where a brother or sister has left their life behind and come to Islam, alhamdulillah, and they've come to the masjid and they're not part of a community, it just further exacerbates or perpetuates their loneliness. And we can't be, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm going to be critical on us, that it's not good enough. It's definitely not good enough. And I think that's why I've taken this episode. Please talk. I mean, you've been very nice.
There's nothing else to say.
We need to stimulate. So the audience, inshallah, that
Let's do
watching-
something.
Let's do something.
What are we gonna do?
What are we going to do? I think next episode we'll have a revert sister and brother organization come on and talk about what they're doing to help. But I think the reason we did this episode, and my viewers, mashallah, they're very well versed and intellectual, and I think it's more opening their eyes, because I have to make a confession myself. It's not me blaming them, it's me blaming myself. How often on a day-to-day basis do I go out of my way and say, oh, is there any reverts in my community that need a help or need a helping hand? If we have even one or two reverts, there's plenty to go around. Within our friendship circle, where they come out to eat with us and socialize with us, then we're doing our duty, right? And just to the audience members, brothers and sisters, if you haven't got a revert in your friendship circle, go out of your way to find a revert, inshallah, and bring them into your friendship circle and go out and socialize with them, whether it's restaurants, wherever it may be. But if we all did that, then we'll address this loneliness issue.
That's a really good call to action.
Yes.
Everyone should have like one revert that
Yes.
they keep in touch with.
Yes.
But also there are like some revert groups like all over London, I guess all over the UK.
Yeah.
Like another thing that I want to say is that the worst time when your revert is Eid.
Eid, great topic.
Because obviously like the Eid and the two Eids, like they're like the most important days when you're Muslim.
Yes.
And then you're just like on your own, like after Ramadan, eating breakfast, like in front of your computer, like on your own, and there's nothing, there's no one. Like a lot of people, like obviously like it's family time for a lot of people, but also like maybe some people might organize something with their friends, but it's like 1 week later or whatever, so the hype's gone. And like, but like, yeah, the days of Eid, that's like when everyone, and I think me included, to be honest, because I haven't been so good either, it's like where we have to make like the most effort and like to get like some people, not even converts, to be honest, even like foreign students that
Yes.
might be here on their own,
Yeah.
like just people we know, like if they're on their own, just to like reach out to them maybe a few days before and like do a plan, even if it's to go for a coffee or whatever, like 30 minutes, like that might make their day.
So Eid, very, very good topic. I completely forgot about it. Eid to us is what Christmas is to Christians and people that celebrate Christmas in this country. They may be atheists, but it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And some of the things that, if I observe Christmas and how it's observed in this country, we can take lesson from it. The unity of the family. Some people will travel miles and miles and go back to up north or south or wherever it may be to visit their parents, and it brings that coherent back to the family, and they will pay thousands of pounds to get on a taxi to go and meet their family on Christmas. And I think we as Muslims can take heed from those that celebrate Christmas in the essence of it, what it means to them. And I want to ask you a question. How many Eids were you lonely?
I would say 3 or 4 maybe. 3 or 4 years, not 3 or 4 Eids.
Consecutively?
Because I got married, alhamdulillah, in 2020, and I took my shahada in 2017. So during those 3 years, only once I got invited by a brother to just have like some food at his house. And everything else, I was just like pretty much on my own.
Be honest with me. In those 3 years, what did you think about Muslims?
It hurts. I'm not gonna lie. It hurts. But I always go back. I try to go back to Allah, and that's why we do that for Him. Like everything we get on top of that is a bonus. But it does hurt. But for me, alhamdulillah, because I'd been studying like Islam quite a lot, and I'd like yaqeen, like I knew it was true in my heart. Like I minded, obviously, like it didn't make me feel good. Yeah. But I was like, I'm not doing it for other people. So I'll just keep on going no matter what, and inshallah it's gonna get better.
I think 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago? I was in Regent's Park Mosque on Eid, and I met a Muslim brother from another ethnicity, and I say hello and hi when I see him occasionally. And he was there, and I said, "Oh, Eid Mubarak," and he's like, "How's your Eid?" I'm like, "I was complaining. I've got to do so many family errands." I was complaining, and to my detriment, because I was humbled afterwards. I was complaining to him, saying, "Oh, I've got to go to this house and that house and see this person and that person," and almost it became a burden for me. And his response humbled me, and he said to me, And he's a Muslim, by the way, albeit from another ethnicity. We need to acknowledge that the biggest Muslim ethnicities in this country are primarily South Asian and Arab. And you've got Eastern Africans, so you've got the Somalis, etc., etc. And he told me that I have no one to see, and he's Muslim.
Yeah.
And I was humbled, and I was like, I almost wanted to slap myself, because I'm thinking, there's me complaining about going to so many people and visiting so many people, and he's got no one to visit. So I felt his pain. It was palpable. I felt it. But you, on the other hand, you know, you've left your family, you left everything behind, and for 3 consecutive years, you had only one brother, one soul, to say, come over and have Eid in my house. SubhanAllah.
May Allah bless him.
Ameen. And apologies to you for those 3 years. Forgive me, and I apologize on behalf of the Muslim Ummah. It's wrong. It's so wrong.
So we say that, but now I'm in the same situation.
You are, yes, you are.
Because it's coming, and there's like a dawat here, like invitation there, you know, and like I make no time for other people. But really, like, we have to be better, all of us, and that's like born Muslim and also like converts that are like established.
Is there any final thoughts that you have for the audience, inshallah? Because this is to raise awareness and consciousness that we do better. We have to do better.
So I think for people that are born in Muslim family, count your blessings. You're very lucky. Also, I want to say one thing. Let's be serious Muslims, because if we were serious about this, like, we'd make more of an effort, and like we'd be more inviting. Let's try to do more. And then for people that are converts, either new converts or people thinking about converting, like, you don't do it for other people. You do it for Allah, first and foremost. And after that, I mean, it's going to be a bit hard at the beginning, but alhamdulillah, it's all worth it. Like, you keep on going, and it's worth it now in this dunya. But imagine in the akhirah, when you're like on the day of Yom Qiyamah, on the day of resurrection, and alhamdulillah, you're Muslim, and like you see other people that are not Muslim. So you have to think about the long-term goal, and it might get a bit tough. Also, I mean, it's also tough for some like people born in Muslim families, to be honest, because I mean, it's tough for everyone. But we have to do our best and try to be on a straight path, and that's it.
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much, Brother Florent. Beautiful name as well. What does that mean?
It's the same root word as a flower.
Flower.
Yes.
So you're blossoming.
Correct. Yeah, and I smell nice.
You smell nice as well. Thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your honesty. And inshallah, we not only create a consciousness within our own ummah, our people, but those that are considering Islam. Thank you very much for listening to that attentively. I just want to say that we should take great pride in our religion, but more so, we need to show others that perhaps aren't Muslim that we hold ourselves to the highest of accountability in terms of mannerisms. Islam, one of the key underpinnings of Islam is manners. And even though this brother's trying to be nice, I'm going to be quite self-deprecating here or critical. He was lonely for 3 years. A lot of Muslims, new Muslims that come into our religion, aside from the hug and the mashallah, congratulations, we disappear. And they have to face this new life of theirs alone. You have to understand that these people have left their families, their friends, their circles, everything behind. The least we can do through our manners is to be hospitable and welcoming. And I'm not having a go here. I'm just trying to raise awareness and almost indoctrinate it into our consciousness that going forward, inshallah, we're aware of this, and we go out of our way a little bit because we live in a very diverse and multicultural communities. Surely you can find one revert or someone that's even considering Islam through your manners and through your akhlaq, through your behavior, and bring them into Islam and show them the beauty of Islam. So hopefully that this episode was beneficial. I will see you in the next episode, inshallah, where we'll have perhaps a revert sister organisation and a revert brother organisation come and talk about what they're doing to facilitate and help integrate into our communities. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments, and inshallah we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.